I think that Tucker frequently traffics in precisely this sort of conspiratorial thinking. Again, I don't pull my punches on this stuff. I mean, when I think that people are engaged in a belief system that leads to the idea that the policymakers are not, in fact, the policymakers. There's a shadowy cadre of people behind the policymakers who are the ones who are actually pulling the strings. And no matter what you do, you cannot extirpate them politically. There are no methods of stopping them. And no matter how much you do, how much you are an activist or how much you speak, they're trying to silence you. They're trying to harm you.
What is the root source of a lot of the bad ideas that are being promoted and currently dividing the conservative movement? Take a look at this clip over here with Ben Shapiro talking on CNN as to why he attacked Tucker Carlson and the way he's been doing things lately. We'll watch this clip together and then we'll talk about it. But first, hit that subscribe button over there in the corner. We'd love to stay in touch. Check this out.
When Tucker was fired from Fox News, he went to X, and he had a very, very large platform on X, and obviously his show is very widely listened to.
Yes.
He has a very large audience. Tucker's a super talented guy. I also think that he has, taken a bunch of views that I think would more traditionally be labeled on the left on virtually every issue that I can think of, and has spent very little time actually, identifying with views of the right, which has been kind of fascinating. This past week, obviously, he decided not just to have on the white supremacist and radical open Hitler supporter, Nick Fuentes. He decided to essentially gloss Nick Fuentes and treat him with kid gloves and popularize him, which is, I think, something that Tucker frequently does. I called him an ideological launderer. Tucker is a very good prosecutorial attorney when he decides to be. And so I pointed this out, especially because the head of the Heritage Foundation then came out and essentially contended two things. One, that there are no circumstances under which the Heritage Foundation would cease its relationship with Tucker, none, which to me is a shocking statement coming from the head of a think tank. Traditionally, think tanks are about ideas. If the idea is that you are now against the ideas of a think tank, well, now I don't understand precisely why you should maintain connections with people who are promoting ideas antithetical to that think tank. And then he suggested that the only people who are attacking Tucker Carlson were, I believe that the word he used was a venomous coalition of people subject to a foreign power, which is some rather, I would say, unsubtle coded language. I called this out on the show on Monday because I think this has been a long time in coming. I think that Tucker frequently traffics in precisely this sort of conspiratorial thinking. Again, I don't pull my punches on this stuff. I mean, when I think that people are engaged in a belief system that leads to the idea that the policymakers are not, in fact, the policymakers. There's a shadowy cadre of people behind the policymakers who are the ones who are actually pulling the strings. And no matter what you do, you cannot extirpate them politically. There are no methods of stopping them. And no matter how much you do, how much you are an activist or how much you speak, they're trying to silence you. They're trying to harm you. This sort of language is indeed a permission structure for violence. Okay. That's just the reality.
And of course, this shadowy cadre, this nebulous cadre in the background that's manipulating the politicians and the media is said to be the Jews or Israel or fill in the blank. But those are typically the ones that are assigned. Now, one of the things that would be necessary, I believe, if you're going to have an international cadre of people that are controlling things from behind the scenes, is you'd have to have unity. You'd have to have unity, that all those people would have to be working together. One of the things that is known about the Jewish community and at large, and the community in Israel, the people that live in Israel specifically, is that they are anything but united. If you think that there's unity between what's going on between the two political parties in America, between the Republicans and the Democrats, between the left and the right in the United States, if you think that they are not united, if you think that they're at odds with each other, you should see what it's like in Israel. The right and the left, the clash is even greater than it is in the United States. And so to say that Israel or the Jewish people are somehow manipulating together all of world policy, all of politicians, all of the media in its favor, it would really require a great deal of unity in order to do that. And so it doesn't really make sense that there is this group that the Jewish people or the Israelis or whatever it is would have that sort of sway. The relationship that the United States has with Israel isn't religiously based, isn't ethnically based, isn't culturally based. It's a geopolitical realism. There's military base access, which comes with Israel. Israel is the only U.S. ally in the Middle East that is forward operations partner. There's intelligence sharing that comes between the US and Israel. Israel's intel has actually prevented multiple terror attacks in the US and other European allies. There's tech and cybersecurity innovations that come from Israel. There is the fact that Israel is a counterbalance to Iran and Russia. Israel's the only non-authoritarian regional power that's aligned with the US interests. And so the connection that they have is not based on anything except for pragmatism. The whole idea of the secret Jewish influence narrative has existed for 2,000 years. The pattern historically comes up every time there's economic disruption, there's technological transition, there's cultural uncertainty that destabilizes identity. Groups look for where's the visible minority that's believed to be disproportionately successful and is a close-knit group amongst themselves. And they assign that that group, those people, they must be in control. And the truth is, it doesn't only happen with Jews. This is the pattern that happens throughout history, but it's happened to other people as well. It happened to Protestants in France. It happened to Catholics in England. It happened to Freemasons in 19th century Europe. It happened to Chinese minorities in Malaysia and Indonesia. It's a recycled social anxiety pattern that's not relegated just to the Jews. It's not specific just to the Jews, but once you recognize this pattern, the illusion collapses. This is where you find it coming up in all sorts of manifestations in history. I wouldn't say that Gen Z is specifically anti-Jewish. Gen Z is not reacting to Jews. Gen Z is reacting to distrust of elites, distrust of institutions, desire for authenticity, perceived censorship. Israel is simply being misidentified as the system because it's highly visible in the media these days. It's closely connected with US evangelical foreign policy sentiment, and it's easy to externalize them as the other. This is a substitute target. It's not the real cause. There's a pattern in general that when people distrust institutions, especially government institutions, as that trust goes down, the more people are open to the idea of conspiracies. Because if the government is hiding this, that, and the other thing from me, and I don't trust them, what else are they hiding from me? And so that's why I think you find today a willingness, a desire to believe conspiracy theories, because there's such a large distrust of government and institutions. And once you're in the realm of conspiracy theories, one thing that you can certainly always be sure is going to happen: the Jews are going to find their way to be part of the blame game. We'll follow this as it develops, and if you like this content overall, hit that subscribe button over there in the corner. We'd love to stay in touch. Take care.